Welcome to the Butterfly Effect. I'm Chris Horner. This is stage 4 of the Vuelta España 2023. Today is a stage for the sprinters. We all know it on stage 4 because it has a flat finish, but not exactly flat all the way to the finish because the last left turn from about 450, maybe 300-ish, 350 out of that last corner is when it's going to start going up proper, and it goes all the way up to the finish. It's a false flat. If I remember correctly, we had this stage in 2013, this finish. And it was a stage that Philippe Gilbert won during that 2013 Vuelta España. It was a hard finish. Remember, suffering going up it, but it had a little pause from the front group that year. Then Philippe Gilbert launched out of the group and ended up winning the stage. Now, today's race, let's go a little bit back to yesterday's race because we saw where some of the GC hitters, when we're talking about Geraint Thomas lost a little bit of time from Ineos, Hugh Carthy lost a little bit of time, Egan Bernal was there with Geraint Thomas at the finish. Lidl Trek's rider Juan Pedro, he lost some time on yesterday's stage 2, but Remco Evenepoel, he won the stage in dominating fashion, then crashed afterwards and said that he'd still be good for today's stage. So let's hope it's true for Remco Evenepoel and Soudal Quickstep so we don't lose any of the big hitters here at the Vuelta España. Now, when the stage rolls out, everybody was in a good mood because they let 3 riders go up the front. Sepulveda from Lotto Destiny, he's the rider wearing the KOM jersey because he's tied on KOM points with Remco Evenepoel. But Remco Evenepoel's in red, so we see the polka dot jersey there on Sepulveda from Lotto Destiny because he wants some more points on today's stage. Now he has some help up there because he has Okamika there from Burgos BH, and he has David Gonzalez in there from Caja Rural. Those 3 riders, they're not given much time. When we go back and look at the Peloton, it's DSM on the front and Albacete de Koenig. Albacete de Koenig went second on stage 2 with Caden Groves, but that was a real uphill finish there with those 2 last climbs on stage 2 on that wet and miserable slippery stage here at the Vuelta España. But here is a little more ideal. So that's why Albacete de Koenig's on the front, and DSM, well, they're interested too because they have Alberto Danesi. He's a pure sprinter, so we'll see how he functions in today's stage 4-2 at the sprint finish. Now, with this group of 3, they're going up the road. They're going to get maximum KOM points for the KOM jersey wearer up there, Sepulveda, with 50 kilometers to go, but the gap's coming way down. So let's talk a little bit about some of the interviews they gave here on stage 4. First one I want to talk about is Machine. He gave the interview before the start of the stage. He said yesterday's stage, they were really active. They were taking control of the race. Just the best guy won with Remco Evenepoel. Now, Machine was my director sportif with Lampre, and he was my director sportif with Sonia Devall. He is fantastic. But tactically, these are little mistakes and little details that he's leaving out. If you're pulling on the front for Remco Evenepoel and he's getting a free ride, and his Soudal Quickstep riders are getting a free ride, your guys like Jay Vine working 100% on yesterday's stage 4, he's burning matches. We see Ayuso that was attacking near the finish with about 3 kilometers to go, 2.5 maybe, when Ayuso was throwing an attack, so he's burning some matches. We saw off the back, Almeida was struggling big time off the back, so he was burning matches yesterday. And we saw Marc Soler from UAE Team Emirates burning matches all over. When we take a look at Soudal Quickstep, well, with 250 meters to go, Remco Evenepoel lit everybody up and he burnt some matches for about 250 meters, but so did everybody trying to follow the wheel of the Belgian rider from Quickstep. Those guys were all hurt and following his wheel because we know Remco Evenepoel looked spectacular on yesterday's stage 3 finish, and UAE Team Emirates are blowing bullets. So I don't like when I see the director sportif say, well, we just wanted to get involved in the race, we wanted to be aggressive, we wanted to make the race. You can make the race, but what's happening is what you're doing is making it easier for Jumbo-Visma and for Soudal Quickstep later in these next 3 weeks. Now remember, if those teams, Jumbo-Visma and Soudal Quickstep, have to do some work, maybe you open up opportunities later for Jay Vine to go up and steal another Vuelta stage victory like he's had in the past here because he's a little bit of a less of a threat on general classification. And Soudal Quickstep's a little bit tired after yesterday's stage 3 because they had to work instead of Jay Vine on the front, and same with Jumbo-Visma. You got to have them on the front at some point in time so that in later stages, when you're the 3rd best or 4th best team or 5th best team in this year's Vuelta España, the number 1 and number 2 best teams of the domestiques are a little bit tired. So I don't like Machine's interview because he's just basically saying, hey, we're trying to make the race interesting for the fans, or we're trying to do something to win this stage. but your odds get better of winning the stage if the other two big teams, Pseudo Quick-Step, Jumbo-Visma, have to work on the front. So I don't like the interview. I don't like the tactics yesterday. I said it yesterday on the Butterfly Effect, and I'll say it again today. It is the wrong tactics. Now, one other interview, Remco Evenepoel, he says he slept good last night but needed some stitches there, so hopefully he doesn't have any problems with any kind of concussion issue or something later in the race, because a crash like he had yesterday can certainly affect your form later, and a small concussion or a big concussion can definitely affect your form. Remco Evenepoel, hopefully, fingers crossed that you're in good shape. Now, one last interview before we get back in the race, because, guys, there was nothing happening for 185 kilometers. It took all the way until under 20K to go, so we got time for the interviews on today's stage. But Primož Roglič said that he was feeling a little bit of effects from his crash on stage 2, and he was happy to survive yesterday's stage 3 and finish with the front leaders, only losing 1 second plus some time bonuses, of course, to Remco Evenepoel's stage victory win yesterday. So hopefully, when we're talking Primož Roglič with Jumbo-Visma, his legs get back under him, and that's what these stages are really good for, is just trying to spin your legs out, get everything back flowing, and hopefully loosen up the muscles, because it can take 1, 2, 3 days after a crash before you start feeling better, and normally it's like 3, 4, or 5 days before you start coming back to 100%. Okay, like I said, nothing was happening in the stage 2 teams on the front pulling all day. The breakaway goes to the second KOM, and of course it's Sepulveda with 30 kilometers to go. That'll take maximum points. He'll sit up with about 22 kilometers to go. They'll cross the sprint line, the two leftover breakaway riders, and it's Omika that's up there that takes maximum points. Once they get wrapped up right after the sprint line, things start getting chaotic in the Peloton. It's no longer party time here on stage 4 of the Vuelta a España, as we see Ineos on the front driving it 100% with 15 kilometers to go. They're going deep with none other than Filippo Ganna on the front, who's drilling. He's got Geraint Thomas on his wheel, and there's about 4 Ineos riders up there with Omar Fraile involved in the pulling too. Now, we'll see coming into about 7 kilometers to go, Filippo Ganna still going full gas. They're coming into the roundabout. He loses Geraint Thomas, who got a little swarm back there. And Filippo Ganna is going to look over his shoulder and realize this is a waste of time. I didn't care much for this tactic when I saw Geraint Thomas get dropped yesterday, and I saw all of his interviews before the Vuelta a España talking about how winning a stage might be more important than going higher on the general classification, which tells me that Geraint Thomas probably doesn't have 100% fitness, and he got dropped in yesterday's stage. So I don't like using up the bullets of a rider like Filippo Ganna that can win a stage later. It's kind of like that talk there I gave you earlier with Machine, where you're on the front at this moment, but it could be better used later in the stage. Either way, things are getting exciting with 5 kilometers to go. We see Alpecin de Koenig. They're coming up to the front of the picture here, and we got all the big GC teams lined up across the road. But Alpecin de Koenig got 6 riders coming to the front, and Caden Groves, the #1 hot favorite to win here on stage 4. Now, shortly after that, we get under about 4 kilometers to go. There's a big crash up at the front of the Peloton. They have the center blockage there dividing the highway up, and then you look over to the right. The right side's where there's the off-ramp. There's tape that way, so it's narrowing up the road. And in the front of the Peloton, guys are hitting the brakes. Bikes are flipping everywhere. Bodies are going all over the place, left and right. The big-time sprinter, Brian Cocard, this was an ideal stage for the Cofidis rider to try to win today's stage. He goes down hard and possibly breaks his collarbone or shoulder, something like that he said in the interview after today's race, but he hasn't gotten an X-ray. Either way, he's out on stage 4 right now as he's sitting on the road. Other riders that went down that are important to keep a mind on, we'll see Santiago Buitrago from Bahrain Victorious that went down right next to Brian Cocard. Now let's go a little bit forward, because that's a race leader team jersey there, yellow jersey from Jumbo-Visma, and that's Wilco Kelderman. Remember, he's the super mountain domestique for Jonas Vingegaard and Primož Roglič, so this crash could affect what we see later from their super domestiques in the mountains, so keep that in mind. Now let's go back up to the Peloton, because we're getting under the tight section here with about 3 kilometers to go. Pseudo Quick-Steps lined up at the front with 2-3 riders up there, but Remco Evenepoel's one of them. They're going under 3K to go. We know Remco Evenepoel's safe in terms of time splits with crashes now. Everybody that crashed in the earlier one lost time on today's stage. Now they'll hold the front just for a short time because with 2 kilometers to go, Alpecin de Koenig is back under control at the front of the peloton, but their team's a little split up. About 2 riders in front, 1 rider in the back there. That's Gase, just under 1.9 kilometers, 1.8K to go. He's looking back and he's seen he's got 3 teammates on his wheel. One of them's Caden Grove. So he's getting interested in going back to the front. But look on the right side there. It's UAE team members coming with 3 riders. Second rider there in line, that's Rui Oliveira. Third is Milano. Milano's a favorite to win today's stage 4 too. So UAE team members are coming up to the front. We see Milano, he's going to bump Gase from Alpecin de Koenig on the shoulder there, but Alpecin de Koenig rider keeps it up. UAE team members take over control at the front. They're not going to have it for too long because then we're going to see Liddell Trek on the front. Now we're getting close to the finish of today's stage, and remember the last 500 meters comes up. Right after that, there's going to be a hard left turn, and then we're going to go uphill to the finish. So the stress in the peloton at this moment is building big time. Alpecin de Koenig have numbers all over the place, and they got 1 or 2 riders wrapped around Caden, who's just a little bit off the front of the peloton here. We go under 1.1 kilometer to go. All of a sudden, Alpecin de Koenig had got control of the front again with 2 riders in the front and 2 riders just a little bit in back. That got Caden Groves back there. The first rider's going under 1K to go for Alpecin de Koenig. He'll pull to about 900 meters, and then he's going to pull off. Then we're going to see that it's Plankert. He's going full gas at 900 meters to go. He'll pull into about 7, and then he's going to look back, swing hard over to the right side of the road to get out of the way. Who's taking the front now? Well, that's the question, right? You have EF Education's Vandenberg coming on the front there with 700 meters, but he doesn't quite want it, so it's Rui Oliveira from UAE Team Emirates that's going to take the front spot. With just under 700 meters to go, that is. He's all the way to the left side barrier. We're going to see just behind him, over to the left, that's going to be Vandenberg there, and then just be to the right, slightly behind Oliveira, well, that's Milano, his sprinter. Now let's look over to the right because it's Alpecin de Koenig over there with 2 riders. I believe it's Maurice and Caden Groves, of course, their sprinter. They're coming into the final left turn here, hardcore, and the thing you want to most pay attention to, it's downhill, so the speeds are going fast. EF Education rider Vandenberg, he's going to pass on the left side there of Oliveira, who's looking back. As Rui Oliveira is looking back, look at the front picture there. It looks spectacular as he's looking back, and Vandenberg's coming from the left. From the right side is Maurice from Alpecin de Koenig with Caden Groves. Milano switching off of Rui Oliveira's wheel, going over to Vandenberg to the left side of the road. But the speeds are magnificently high right now as they're coming down the downhill on the left side of the fencing, and it's a left turn. What does that mean? That means trouble is brewing. Now Vandenberg, he's afraid to go all the way to the right because if he goes to the right, they'll swarm through on the downhill and take the inside line, and they control him going through the corner. So he's got to go maximum speed, but he's got to make the corner too. Now they're coming into the corner with about 425 meters to go. As Vandenberg's coming in the corner, oh man, he's in trouble. But look at Milano back there. Milano has deaccelerated a little bit faster than the speed there of the EF Education rider. On the right side there is it's Maurice from Alpecin de Koenig. Caden Groves slightly to the inside there of Maurice. And then we look up front, EF Education rider starting to slide. Why is he starting to slide? Well, the organizers, man, they're big old knuckleheads. They made the turn left, but left with a hook on the outside of the left turn there. And now Vandenberg's realized he's not going to make the hook there. He's got the back wheel sliding. The bike starts to slide. He crashes hard. Milano, who was all the way on the inside, but like I said, he must have examined the final corner here on stage 4 of the Vuelta España because he backed off the gas a little bit, made the left and continued. And then Caden Groves, he was with his teammate there, Maurice, but he made the left while Maurice has got 1 foot out, goes straight into Vandenberg and into the fencing. Milano's up front. He's starting to think about going full gas, but let me back it up just a little bit because it was Milan Menton from Lotto Destiny who was following on the inside there behind Milano, but he can't hold the speed. He's backed off a little bit too much. Now let's go forward just as they exit, probably 350 meters to go. As we see Milano from UAE Team Emirates, he's throwing down the gauntlet. Everything he's got, he's putting into the pedals now. Caden Groves is behind him, but gapped just a little bit, but still going full gas. Milan Menton, he backed off the gas too much. He's getting lost back there, going from 5th to 7th. But if I look up at 3rd, who's sitting 3rd? Well, that guy, that's Trek Segafredo, Edward Toons. Toons has got some form, so he's trying to hold on for dear life there to the wheel of Caden Groves. Up front, they're going through the chicane with about 225 meters to go. It is a right followed by left as they go into the left. Look at the camera there. Someone's got their cell phone out taking a picture or videotaping the finish. Well, this is a little bit of a problem for Milano, who's still going full gas. He tries to duck but hits the camera. It flies off somewhere off to into the crowds, and Milano doesn't slow down. He's still going full gas, exiting the chicane, and we see Caden Groves directly on his wheel. We're coming into the last left turn now. It's with 125 meters to go. Just before that, look at Caden Groves. He must have some form. He's going to sit up just a little bit, look back, see if he's got a gap. He's got everything clear because back there, Ed Toons is still trying to close the gap. Up front, as they come out with 110, 115 meters to go, we see Milano. He's got a gap still on Caden Groves, but Milano's been on the front since 350 meters to go, going full gas. Now he's starting to die. Caden Groves is throwing into power. He's bringing all of it back together with 75 meters to go. Ed Toons' gap is too far. It's a two-horse race here on stage 4 of the Vuelta España. 50 meters to go. They're side by side, and Caden Groves is starting his kick proper all the way to the line. 25 meters to go. He gets a little bit of a gap. 10 meters to go. He's sitting up, crosses the line, celebrates a victory for Albacete de Koenig here on stage 4, crossing the line just behind Caden Groves. Pounding the handlebars is Milano from UAE Team Emirates. Edward Toons will round out for Liddell Track the podium here on stage 4 of the Vuelta España. General classification, guys, Remco Evenepoel, I saw him in the picture up front, and a lot of the other guys were close enough with all the accidents. I'm sure they're going to give everybody same time on the general classification, but I did see where Egan Bernal lost about 2 minutes on today's stage. For whatever reason, I don't know, but he looked fairly decent on yesterday's stage 3. Like I told you, he was dropped off, though, with Geraint Thomas and lost about a minute. That was the big general classification guy that lost a little bit of time on today's stage. Either way, with the win here from Albacete de Koenig's Caden Groves, big-time team celebration after the line. You see them all lined up. Caden Groves says it was a spectacular finish, and he thought he had some good form because he was hoping that up front Milano, as he finished out and rounded that last 125-kilometer left bend, that he'd start to fade. So Caden Groves said in his interview that he felt confident that he can catch the UAE Team Emirates rider and pass him before the line, which he did to win a spectacular stage 4. Now, he has the points leader competition jersey. Remco Evenepoel, of course, is going to hold the race leader's red jersey. Sepulveda did a great job of putting himself solidly into the KOM jersey, being in that three-rider breakaway here, all for 185 kilometers of today's stage until they got caught with 20 kilometers to go Either way, fantastic finish, but you don't have to watch the whole stage unless you just want to watch the interviews, because it was a sleeper all the way till 20 kilometers to go on today's stage 4. But a fantastic sprint victory win here from Caden Groves, who has fine form clearly after you saw his second place on stage 2 and now a stage victory here on stage 4 of the Vuelta España. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. I'll see you on the next edition real soon.